Back in the day, when I was a kid, I grew up playing MMORPG games. Some of my favorite titles were Toontown, Pirates of the Caribbean Online, but one of my favorites was actually MapleStory. See, MapleStory is a game with magic and of course demons in it. So how the heck did my parents allow me to play MapleStory and not other games like RuneScape or World of Warcraft? Well, one of the main key factors is that MapleStory, it doesn't have a subscription. And another thing, MapleStory looks like a cutesy Nintendo game. So when my parents saw me playing this game on our family computer in the living room, they were like, I think this passes the vibe check. So I grew up playing MapleStory, and it truly was the golden years of my life. I woke up early before school started, played a little bit of MapleStory, and then of course I went to school. But during school, I'm constantly thinking about MapleStory. And then when I get out of school, I head back home, call up my friends on the family phone line, and we played MapleStory together, and it was awesome. It took forever to level up back in the day, but it was still a blast to experience MapleStory. And if you don't believe my story, then you can literally look at my hand. Yeah, I have Zakum, one of the world bosses, tattooed on my hand forever there. I like MapleStory, but guess what? I can't play this version of MapleStory. In this video, I'm gonna talk about everything there is about old school MapleStory and how you might actually be able to play this game right now. I'm not even joking. And I'm gonna go into detail as to how I can't play this game and it frustrates me so much. And no, it's not because my mom and dad looked at the game and go, oh, wait a second, there's magic in it. You can't play this game. Guess what, mom and dad? I'm an adult now, so I can do whatever I want. But this video doesn't end happily because guess what? I can't play this version of MapleStory. Let's jump into it. So let me explain why so many people want this old school version of MapleStory. Think about some of the most popular MMORPG games on the market right now. What about like World of Warcraft? A lot of people grew up playing World of Warcraft and they enjoy it. But of course, a lot of updates get pushed onto the game. Some people are like, yeah, this is great. Other people are like, it's the biggest piece of dog. Perhaps you grew up playing RuneScape as a kid. A lot of you remember the Evolution of Combat update. Yeah, that probably sparks a little bit of anxiety in you. So of course, people stopped playing RuneScape. Other people, when they were upset with the updates that came within World of Warcraft, they were upset with the game and they stopped playing. But with both World of Warcraft and RuneScape, the developers realized, a lot of people like to play the old version of our game. Why don't we just release that version so that those people can play that version of their game? And of course, it works. Both of these games have subscriptions and people will literally pay money to play an older version of the game. Wild. I know, that might not make sense for some people out there, but people actually do this. So what about MapleStory? Well, there is a current version of the game that is constantly updated by the developers, Nexon, but what about the old school version? If you look at any MapleStory video on YouTube, you'll see a ton of comments of people going, where's old school MapleStory? I wish I could play the old school version. Why don't you like and subscribe to moopliss? So a ton of people are really hungry for an old school version of MapleStory. And Nexon, yeah, they literally have not made any effort to make an old school version of MapleStory. Now, before I go ahead and close the lid and say Nexon doesn't care, hold on a second. I believe they did file a copyright for the old school MapleStory memories or MapleStory memories. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I read somewhere on the internet that probably Nexon is cooking it up in the kitchen. I don't know what you have to cook up. It's an older version in the game. Just look into the files that you have and go, oh, this is the version that we're gonna run. Throw it on a server, get a bunch of people to log in, and boom, there you go. You have immediate success. But whatever, Nexon's a bit slow, no problem, we'll wait for them. But what about that statement that I said earlier in the video? I clearly mentioned that you might be able to play this old school version of MapleStory. Well, as of last week, Nexon released something totally brand new. That's called MapleWorlds. MapleWorlds has been released in Korea for well over a year now, and it's really cool because you can use any of the assets that Nexon has created for MapleStory to make your own video games. It's kind of like a platform like Roblox or even Fortnite, where you can create your own games, have players play those games, and you can actually earn money if people are playing your game. So a lot of developers in Korea started making their own games within MapleWorlds. You have a bunch of games that you can play, such as Getting Over It. That's really rage-inducing. What about jumping puzzles? They're kind of fun for a couple of minutes. But what do you know? People actually made Classic MapleStory. Yeah, that's right. Developers literally recreated everything that Nexon did back in the day and made an older version of the game. Not just one developer, two. You have one version of old school MapleStory called MapleLands, and you have the other version of old school MapleStory called Rtail. Now, what's the difference between these two? To be honest, it's kind of like McDonald's and Burger King. Both of them have burgers, both of them have fries.
Put the fries in the bag!
Yeah, okay, Josh, we'll put the fries in the bag. But essentially, you can play Classic MapleStory on either MapleLands or Rtail. There's really no difference. Some people do have preferences, like they think, oh, Rtail's not really built that well, or, you know, MapleLands is a bit faster with the client. Yeah, okay, but it's the same thing, essentially. There's minor nitpicks, like, if you're gonna eat a burger, it's still gonna taste like Classic MapleStory. So why don't I just install MapleWorlds and play old school MapleStory? Well, it's really not that simple. See, MapleWorlds came out in Korea last year. They announced in articles online that, oh, MapleWorlds, it's gonna come out globally later next year, so the whole world can play. And I was like, cool, awesome. I waited over a year, and then they finally stated, it's gonna be out in America, but nowhere else. Yippee! So they went ahead and released it in the regions of America, and that's kind of sad because the folks in EU, we have to wait 3 months to play the game. I don't know, it's something to do with probably the data policies that EU has and maybe how, customers spend money, or I don't know, something boring, Better Call Saul kind of stuff that I don't really have the patience to learn, but they're launching it in America and not EU. Well, guess what? I'm an American living in Germany, so how the heck can I play MapleWorlds? Maybe one of these things, but I never used one of these before. Liar! It might be one of these things, but I can't actually tell you in a video, so you're just gonna have to guess. So, I may or may have not tried playing MapleWorlds, and I may or may not have actually gotten to play MapleWorlds. I'm not saying I have or haven't. So how would it feel to play old school MapleStory if you were hypothetically living in the EU? Well, you might be able to play the old school version of MapleStory that the developers Rtail were able to release, but you might be able to play it for maybe 3 minutes and then you get kicked off the game. Oh, that's okay, just reconnect to the game, no problem. Sure, it'll work flawlessly for 3 minutes and then you're kicked off the game again. And I truly do love this login screen. It's probably one of my favorite login screens ever. I don't like seeing it after the 25th time when I keep losing connections. This is all hypothetically, by the way, it's just a story. But I'm very angry about it. So yeah, I cannot play MapleWorlds because if you hypothetically wanted to give it a try when you were living in Europe, this is gonna be your experience. Get ready to read these words of reconnecting, and then guess what? You're getting sent back to the lobby, kid. You won't be able to play MapleWorlds. Now, how do they hypothetically fix this? Well, the thing is if I play any other version of MapleWorlds, or if I hypothetically did so, I actually do get this reconnecting message. But guess what? I'm not kicked from the game. So I might be able to hypothetically play games such as Getting Over It or jumping puzzles. So if I happen to hypothetically be playing these games in the EU and the reconnecting message of death appears, well, guess what? I'm still able to stay connected into the game after it takes a second to connect and boom, I'm back and connected to the server. We're good. I'm not sent back to any login screen. And Rtail, the only version of old school MapleStory that's available for MapleWorlds for now, Yeah, it may or may not constantly send you back to the lobby if you get the reconnecting message. How do they fix that? Not Nexon's responsibility, that's for sure. Their responsibility is getting MapleWorlds over to the EU folks. Let's hurry up, Nexon. That would be great if we could do that. But how do the developers who made old school MapleStory, which is the R-Tail version, how do they fix this? It's quite simple. If folks encounter this message for whatever reason, I don't know, don't kick people from the game immediately. Give them a second to still reconnect. Account is connecting to the server. I don't know. I'm not someone who programs, but this is the error message that kicks me instantly from this version of the game. Hypothetically. Now, some of you may have already left a comment in the video saying things like, patience. I say patience. Yeah, I do need to be patient. I should just wait until Nexon releases MapleStory Worlds for the EU folks to access. But here's the deal. I feel like this meme right here, where Squidward is sitting inside and he just gets to watch SpongeBob and Patrick have fun within MapleStory Worlds, aka old school MapleStory. So since I'm in this situation right now, I'm gonna go ahead and feel like a Squidward. Or if you live in Germany, they call him Tadeos. I don't know why they call him Tadeos, but that's what they call Squidward. I'm gonna feel like Tadeos/Squidward because yeah, I'm kind of upset that everyone else who's based in the American region gets to enjoy the old school version of MapleStory, and I just kind of have to sit here and be like, have fun, guys. Hope you're having fun. Not like that's one of my favorite video games. Thank you very much to my one and only Patreon member for supporting my content. If you want to see your MMORPG character at the end of these videos, then feel free to check out my Patreon page. But thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. As always, stay hydrated, gamers.